figured if not, we could just communicate between all of us.
Well, we had, you were there, you were on one other. we had a good little chat after, like, we just made up.
Yeah, sorry, I was flying in from our band leader conference.
Oh, we knew.
Yeah, so I was like,
we were like, well, here, we'll update you.
yeah,
That way we don't have to find each other.
That's
each morning,
fair. That's
which
great.
I'm really glad we didn't, because the class that I went to this morning is probably one of my favorites I've ever been to.
Nice.
Which one?
The principal guy from guitar is his class on finding your sound.
Oh,
Really cool.
I just wanted to make sure. Did you get to see? I'm going to ask you about education. You've
Yep,
used
yep.
education stuff.
Yeah, cool, I got you.
Do you guys want to do a quick selfie before we start?
Here, let me get out of branding stuff. So that,
Everybody turn around and say and smile. Smile. Everybody. There you go.
thank you.
We're official now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Feel free to come closer if you want. You might not even need to use microphones. This is a very large room. So welcome to our panel discussion on what it means to be a military musician. I'm Karina Nunez-Hedrick. I'm currently the flute instructor at the U.S. Army School of Music in Norfolk, Virginia, where new soldiers going to our active duty National Guard and Reserve bands come in between basic training and going to their units. So they just completed basic training, they come to us for 10 weeks, and then they go off to their units after that. Today's panel is comprised of flutists from all branches of the military representing the fleet, regional, reserve, and premier bands. Unfortunately, our Coast Guard colleagues were not able to make it today due to mission requirements. But in our time together here at NFA, we've gotten to hang out together and learn a lot about each other's experiences and learn how similar we all are, but also there's a lot of differences between the branches that even we were not even aware of. So it's been a really cool experience, and I hope that you all get to experience some of that too. So let's go down the line and take a few minutes to introduce yourselves. If you could tell us what band you're in and how many years you've served.
Hi, my name is Sergeant First Class Julia Amity. I'm in the United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps, and I've been in the Corps for 9 years.
Hello everyone, I'm using First Class of Jordan Boyston. I am in the U.S. Navy Fleet Bands. I am currently stationed in Fleet Forces Band in Norfolk, Virginia, and I've been in for about 8 years.
Hello, I'm musician first class Ashley Lees, and I'm stationed with the United States Navy Band in Washington, D.C., and I've been in for a little over 10 years now.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gunnery Sergeant Jessica Backus. I currently teach at the Naval School of Music, right alongside Karina over there. I've been in also just shy of 8 years.
Oh, you guys can take that one. Hello, I am Senior Master Sergeant Kristen Hamill. I am currently stationed at Joint Base Langley Eustis that is in Virginia. I have been in for 30 years.
That makes me not feel so old.
Hey now.
Sorry.
Okay.
My name is Sergeant First Class Angela McHouston. I spent 16 years in the Army National Guard Band in Nashville, Tennessee, which is where I'm from, and the last 7 with the 313th Army Reserve Band at Redstone Arsenal.
All right, so starting with the beginning of music in our military, let's hear from Julia from the Fife and Drum Corps to give us a brief overview of some of the history of music in our military.
So in the Army's Fife and Drum Corps, we play 10-hole fifes, and we have rope tension drums, and we also have bugles, which weren't able to bring them today. So if you were here at the gala concert last night, we didn't have them. But if you think back to the American Revolution, they didn't have cell phones, and so those fifes and drums were the form of communication. And they're very, very loud, which you might have noticed. So they could be heard over the sound of battle. And then those instruments were often played by young boys or men who couldn't fight and carry a weapon.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about the training that you all do when you arrive at the Fife and Drum Corps.
So at the Fife and Drum Corps, we call it new soldier training. It's usually about 9 months. It consists of learning our marching marching style, our shows. We have different configurations of shows, different amounts of people. We also have standing tests. Our job consists of a lot of standing and ceremonies, so we want to make sure that everyone's physically able to do that. And that's a skill that doesn't have to come naturally. It's just like practicing your instrument. We stand, and there are assessments for that as well.
Do you have an idea of how long, what's the longest you've had to stand?
So for our audition,
Standing test.
You have a 30-minute stand, and that's between standing at attention or parade rest. So prior to my audition, I definitely just stood in front of a mirror, and that just the physical feeling is different if you're not used to it. But it's just, again, something that takes time to feel comfortable with. And then during our new soldier training, we have a 45-minute assessment, and then a 60-minute assessment, and then a 75-minute is the longest stand. And that's just to gain confidence for those ceremonies where you might be on the marks for a long period of time.
Awesome, thank you. Let's have some questions from the Navy. So, Jordan, what are some collateral duties that you've had in your time in?
So collateral duties, for those of you that don't know what that is, it's just other things that you have to do to help the band run. And that I can't really speak for everybody here, but I can assume that everybody has done something that they did not know that they were going to have to do. I have done anywhere from, I'm currently in charge of admin, making sure people get paid on time, making sure that their moves are smooth, their transitions from place to place. I've done public affairs, taking pictures, social media. I have done IT. I have done travel and helping those with booking their travel. I've done pretty much everything you can think of as far as collateral duties are concerned, because you never know if you're not going to be in a group. So you just got to be flexible.
Yeah, and next up, Ashley, what are some things that you wish you knew before you left for basic training? I know you all basic training is a little bit different than the rest of us.
Yeah, our Navy basic training, as you might expect, it involves swimming. And there are a lot of people, I was surprised to find out when I got to boot camp, who did not know how to swim. However, I would not let that be a deterrent, because believe it or not, when you're at basic training, they do want you to pass everything. They want you to graduate and to move on, move forward in your Navy career. So they offer remedial swim lessons for people who do not know how to swim. I actually have a couple of colleagues who had to take these remedial lessons, and they give you a number of chances to pass the swim. As for me, I love the water, so for me that was kind of an added bonus at boot camp. I enjoyed the swim. I enjoyed stepping off of the really high dive and going straight down into the water like a pencil, and learning the different water safety skills. I just kind of found it fascinating, and it's something that I would not have explored just as a musician in general, but as a Navy musician, you are a musician and you are also a sailor. So you get to learn about the history of the Navy, all of the other jobs in the Navy, aside from just being a musician. And it's really a very interesting thing. And it's just kind of made me appreciate being a military and Navy musician in particular even more, just going through that process. Because when you're at boot camp, you're not just there with other musicians. You're there with people from every rating, from all across the country. I was there with a lot of 18-year-olds, and I had received my master's degree when I won my job, so I felt like I was maybe the oldest recruit there. But it was still a very positive experience in a lot of ways.
So since we have both of you here from the Navy, what are some similarities and differences between your two jobs? Because you're at a premier band and you're at a fleet band, correct?
Well, in the premier band, you have a permanent duty assignment in the Washington, D.C. area. So I have spent already over a decade in the D.C. area with that band. And so that is the band that I will be with for my entire Navy career. And there's a lot of good things about that. I grew up as a military kid, so I was accustomed to traveling a lot. And it's nice to be able to be in the military, but also plant roots in a community. And the colleagues that I work with, they are all like some of the best musicians that I have ever played with. They've gone to like the top conservatories and music schools, and it's a really interesting experience being in one of the premier bands, because you get to play in locations that not every musician gets to. Like I have performed, for example, at the White House, at the Vice President's house, at the Capitol, the Navy Memorial, Lincoln Center, oh no, not Lincoln Center, sorry, Lincoln Memorial, all over the Washington, D.C. area. We do a tour once a year of the continental United States. It's always a different section of the United States. We try to go where the Navy doesn't normally get to go. And generally our tours are about anywhere between like 3 to 4 weeks long in the spring. And it's always just a great joy to get to like share our Navy musical experience, be musical ambassadors in the area. And one of the other things about my job that I love is our chamber music opportunities. We have some official chamber groups. We have a woodwind quintet. There's a harp flute duo, which I'm honored to be the flutist with the harp flute duo. There's a saxophone quartet, clarinet quartet. We have like a jazz combo. We have a country bluegrass combo. There are like some smaller singing ensembles, as well as our larger ensembles, because at my command, we have a concert and ceremonial band. It's a combined unit. So sometimes you are doing ceremonies, other times you're playing on concerts. We also have a full choir, we have a jazz band, we have a rock band, we have a country bluegrass band. We kind of have a little bit of everything, which just makes it fun, because then you can perform literally any kind of music.
Similarly, for the fleet bands, we are musical ambassadors for the Navy. We represent the Navy, we represent the Navy's mission in promoting what we do, and we're called a soft power for the military. That's kind of what we do. And what's different about what I do versus what Ashley does is, well, we are kind of more part of the, like the, I don't want to say normal Navy, but kind of like the normal Navy, where we do have to transfer anywhere from 2 to 5 years to a different band. So we do have 9 bands, and I know them, but I have them in front of me so I don't miss anybody. So very cool locations that we are able to live at. There's not really any bad band to be part of. And so we have US 7th Fleet Band in Yokosuka, Japan, right outside of Tokyo. US Pacific Fleet Band in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I was there for 4 years. I would go back in a heartbeat. Navy Band Northwest in Silverdale, Washington. Navy Band Great Lakes in Great Lakes, Illinois. That's where the band does support the RTC graduations, the boot camp graduations. Navy Band Southwest in San Diego, California. I've also been stationed there. Navy Band Southeast in Jacksonville, Florida. U.S. Fleet Forces Band in Norfolk, Virginia, which is where I'm currently stationed. Navy Band Northeast in Newport, Rhode Island. And then U.S. Naval Forces Europe and Africa Band in Naples, Italy. I really, really want to go there. And what ensembles that we have really depends on the band that you're at, who's in charge, and basically just what the needs are. The U.S. Navy Band is quite a bit bigger than, I think, 120 people strong, right?
176.
Oh, that's a lot bigger than I thought. So the fleet bands can be anywhere from 30 to 45 people, and usually anywhere from 1 to 3 flutists at any one of those bands. So quite a bit smaller, and the ensembles can vary anywhere for flutists, ceremonial band, wind ensemble, parade band, and woodwind quintet, or a woodwind ensemble, depending on the needs, the venue. It really just depends. But I do love what I do. I was also a military brat. My dad was in the Navy for 20 years, and I also moved around, and this life is all I've known. Getting to travel with incredible musicians all the time is like the greatest joy, and getting to see the world with them is amazing. I've gotten to go to Malaysia. I've gotten to go to Alaska, all of the Hawaiian Islands. I've gotten to go to Italy. I've gotten to go to to Finland, so many different places that I would not have been able to go to otherwise. I could not have recommend this career enough.
Thank you. So moving on to the Marines, we've got Jess. So what are some opportunities for leadership that you've experienced while serving in the Marine Corps?
I will say I was told that leadership was going to be a big thing for us, and I did not know what that was going to mean, because in my mind, as I came in out of college, it's like music leadership. We're talking like section leader. No, it turns into much more. So the more rank you gain, it turns into, okay, it might start off as section leader, but then your job is to mentor the section leaders. It goes way beyond music in terms of like, my mentor who mentored me in all of anything related to personal health, personal life, does end up affecting your professional life. What balances are like, let's say you're in charge of the whole platoon, which goes way beyond music. Like right now, working at the Naval School of Music, we have a lot of 18, 19, 20-year-olds who come in, and some of them are a little bit more adulty, as in they've done adulty things. Others have never done their taxes before. Others might not know that you have to renew your registration every year for your car. So we end up helping a lot of them, and it's helping like the other instructors, helping other people who are underneath us in rank. Like how do I teach people how to teach this calmly and collectively? Like you have to, everything is assuming that people know nothing and treating it as a mentorship opportunity across so many facets, so beyond music. And I think that's probably the thing I'm most grateful for in this job. You see your mentors and you get to become that mentor too. It's amazing.
So what was the hardest thing about basic training boot camp?
Mental, 100% mental. I thought it was going to be the physical aspect of it. You think about Marine Corps boot camp, and I don't know what goes through your mind, but what went through my mind was, what am I about to do? So then you show up, and you're like, yeah, I can do this, I can do this. And of course you can. And the whole point is, yes, they're going to test you so that they can build you back up, so that you can learn that you indeed are resilient. It's the whole point. So their job, yeah, is going to be to push you to your limit. That's going to look a little bit differently for everybody. So for a lot of us, it was, how do you go to bed? What is going through your mind? How do you treat your thoughts? How do you treat what your thoughts are about for the following day or for the following week? It's going chow to chow, lights to lights, week to week. And then taking that into your personal life, because we all go through all of everything. I think back to last night's concert, and I'm sure for how many of us were there last night? Yeah. Just thinking about everything that happened last night, and I mean, mental resiliency, I think, is something we increasingly fight these days, and boot camp, that ended up being the hardest thing. It tends to be the hardest thing for a lot of people, but you grow so much because that, at least in my mind, felt like one of the biggest purposes, apart from transitioning from civilian to Marine.
Thank you. So Kristen, I know that you've taken advantage of some of the educational benefits that are available in the military. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Absolutely. So I actually came into the United States Air Force Bands program with my bachelor's degree in performance and music education. I was very thankful that I had just a little bit of debt, and so the Air Force has a loan repayment program that helped with that. Then while I was in, there are several different programs. I'm going to kind of speak generally because many of them are the same throughout all of the service bands or services in general. So I was fortunate enough to be stationed at the Band of Mid-America, which is right outside of St. Louis. And so during that time, I actually took advantage of a program called Tuition Assistance, and they paid for my master's program. And because we were right next to the St. Louis Symphony, I took advantage and studied with St. Louis Symphony musicians, and I had zero debt. I also, a lot of the bands will provide money for lessons, and so for about 20 years I studied with, again, members of the St. Louis Symphony, all free. They paid for it. Another program, when I actually separated, when I had my daughter for a little while and went Air National Guard, and so during that time I actually used my GI Bill, and so I have an MBA. So, which kind of is weird for a musician, but also I didn't know what I wanted to do after the military. So I'm kind of prepping those long-term goals as well. And then when I was in the Air National Guard, I kind of found a different path. I became a licensed massage therapist and a physical therapist, so I was working in the Veterans Administration. They paid for all of my credentialing. So in the civilian world, I have a lot of alphabet soup behind my name, and so they paid for all of those certifications. And so I kind of do that part-time when I'm not working in the band. As something to kind of just a different way to kind of relax and do some, giving back to the community and work. I specifically work with veterans. And then my daughter just graduated from college in May. And my husband transferred his GI Bill. He is in the active duty Air Force bandsman as well. And so my daughter graduated with her undergrad and we had no debt. So I can't speak enough about it. The loan repayment, all of those different things. And then this past year, I did get a credentialing project management, and that is a project, Air Force Cool. They have them in all the services. So that was completely free. The training, the testing, and any kind of recertification, that's all paid for. When I was in the Air National Guard, there's many state benefits depending on which state and you're with. I still have about 96 credit hours for an Illinois state school. So I kind of use that as what do I need to do when I get out of the band and what do I want to do. I'll still probably always play, but I still have that as well. So I'm very fortunate. I don't have a lot of debt with any of my schooling, but the military does provide a lot of opportunities to help pay for your education. So, yeah.
So you mentioned that you're married to another military service member and you have a daughter.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
same. I
Yeah.
have 2 kids and I'm married
Yeah.
to another service member in the band. What has it been like balancing family life
Yeah, so both of us are at a higher rank, so we kind of have the unwritten rule. When we get home, we talk about work for about 10 minutes because we do work in the same unit, but in different buildings. I am one of the squadron superintendents, so I am kind of in charge of the band, so he is on a separate chain. So, but we have the 10-minute rule, but it's been great to work with your spouse because you share a lot of the same trials and tribulations and they get it. Both, practicing musicians, so we compete for the practice room at home a lot of times. We're very fortunate that we didn't have to, we have instruments provided for us. That's one of the benefits of what we all have. And so it takes that stressor of, buying a nice instrument. It's the government's property, but we practice quite a bit at home and throughout our day, depending on the musical ensembles we're with. So I get to travel with my husband, which is great. They pay for it all. And we also have a daughter. She just graduated college. But that's been growing up when she was little. It was definitely a balancing act of finding that your tribe of a village that helps you with those things. We had family kind of close by, if that was the case. Great babysitters that became family as well. And a great military supportive community that kind of helps with those families that, raising small kids throughout that. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. So, Angela, you're wearing a different uniform than the rest of us. So, you've been in the National Guard and the Reserves, correct?
Yes, both.
Tell us a little bit about your civilian career and what it's been like balancing that with your duty in the military.
So it's really different from all of my colleagues here because I can do whatever I want on the civilian side and I'm still in the military. And I reaped a whole lot of the same benefits that you get active duty. But I don't have to move. If I choose to move, I can go to a new unit or I can stay in the same unit and travel. So the National Guard and the Reserves are a little different. National Guard is state-run, so there's one band per state, and they are in the capital of each state, including Puerto Rico. I think also Guam, but I don't remember. So, yeah. And with Reserves, we've got a bit of a different situation. Currently there are 3 in our readiness division. We cover everywhere from Kentucky to Puerto Rico, and the country is divided into sections with different bands that split their responsibilities over that collective area. There's a bit of a restructure going on right now. First they threatened to, they didn't threaten, but they said, yeah, we're just gonna get rid of the Army Reserve bands, and then somebody changed their mind and said, actually, no, we're just gonna change how we do it. So I think the amount of bands is going to change, but we're still gonna be around. We get to play things like, we march in the Mardi Gras parade, the Rex parade on Fat Tuesday every year, And we get paid to do that. We get paid to travel all over the place playing musical missions. We play for the Talladega 500 in October and April every year, so we're on TV. We actually have a country music superstar, Craig Morgan, if you know who he is. And he joined our unit about 3 years ago. And he actually does perform with us. He sang with us at National Guard, sorry. He performed with us at Talladega. He's a member of the Grand Ole Opry, so now we get to perform at the Grand Ole Opry as well. And you get paid for all of these things, but they're all on a very part-time basis. So I can sign up for whatever gigs I want to, or I can say, no, I don't want to do it. Do I want to make extra money or not? Or, I don't have the time to take off from my job. So you have that option of how much do I want to work with the military, how much do I not? And I'm self-employed. I own my own business. That's part of the reason for the uniform. I have a booth downstairs, and mine is movement-based, so I couldn't be wearing the uniform and doing what I do in the booth. So that's a little different, but I wear the same uniform as the Army over here, and we are actually in between uniforms, so they kind of give us they piecemeal out our uniforms, and we kind of get it last. So I have parts of a uniform at the moment. But balancing that, it's pretty interesting because, like I said, I get to pick and choose what I want to do.
Thank you. That's great. All great info. So I mentioned earlier that the Coast Guard didn't get to come with us on this panel today, but I did get to ask them some questions. So I asked them how many bands they have. They said the Coast Guard has one band located in New London, Connecticut, and every MU rating within the service except one is permanently stationed there at New London, at the Coast Guard Academy. I also asked what types of missions and traveling they typically do. And Catherine Velasquez from the Coast Guard Band, a flute player in the Coast Guard Band, said that the Coast Guard Band is the only full-time performing organization in the United States Coast Guard and performs in a wide variety of venues and for various functions around the country. Military ceremonial performances include high-profile functions for the President, Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard, and other dignitaries and military personnel around the country. In addition to frequent concert band performances at the Coast Guard Academy, the band performs concerts around southeast New England and does 2 national concert tours per year, each being about 2 weeks long. The Coast Guard Band has also traveled internationally, including the first concert tour of a premier U.S. military band in Japan in 2008, and the first performance by a U.S. military band in the former Soviet Union in 1989. The Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo in 2024, and various Pacific Islands as part of the Operation Blue Pacific. The Coast Guard Band also has an extensive chamber recital series that performs throughout Connecticut, which is similar to what we have. We have several chamber ensembles within all of our units. And they've given performances at the Midwest Conference in Chicago and Carnegie Hall in New York City. I also asked what their basic training looks like. And she said, new band members are not required to undergo the 8-week basic training program for the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard Band is one of only 2 U.S. military bands, including the President's own Marine Band, that does not attend basic training. So following enlistment, the new members report directly to New London, Connecticut, and after they report to the Coast Guard Academy, their new members are sent to Cape May, New Jersey for a 2-week indoctrination program. And so this program is set up to introduce new band members to the life and culture of the U.S. Coast Guard, and they attend classes that focus on military history, tradition, and etiquette. And it's similar to how you all don't come to the Army School of Music once you graduate basic training, they also receive their training, additional training at their unit. So that's one thing that's different between the Fife and Drum Corps in terms of Army training and regular active duty Army. So I have a few extra questions for you all, and you can just choose to answer whoever wants to answer. So what is something that you got to do in the military that you never imagined you'd ever do? Anyone can answer.
Oh, I can take that. So frequently bands do get to deploy. And so I've had the fortune to deploy and in a woodwind quintet, kind of providing that soft power that was mentioned. There are some photos which I wish I could share, but it's of our group, and in the background there are certain leaders that are actually in the same room and not yelling at each other, which was great. Music can bring those kind of disagreements together or those language barriers and kind of get across. It was out of Al-Ud, Qatar, out of CENTCOM, which is kind of some of the hot, that right now But pretty amazing experience meeting bands. There was other bands that we kind of ran into on our travels, but different military from different countries, kind of seeing how the likes and differences are. We might not have all spoken the same language or might not been able to communicate through language, but we definitely communicated through music. So it's a pretty unique and great experience that I couldn't have seen myself doing when I was taking all those military bands auditions. It wasn't necessarily, and during my time, it wasn't something that was happening. So it's a pretty great thing to do. We also give a lot of music back to the troops that are deployed there, that might be there for maybe a year to 2 years during a deployment. Usually in the Air Force, our bands are deployed from anywhere from 3 to 6 months at a time, but basically doing the same musical mission, but over there for different populaces. And so, yeah, I never thought I'd be doing that. So.
Would anybody else like to add on? Something you never imagined you would do?
No, you did it first. One of the things, so Karina and I are sharing a room right now, so we've been talking a lot about, it's like, what would little kid us be, like, what are you doing right now? So just thinking about the time, like, we also tour across the entire United States, obviously different types of performances depending which band you're serving with, but just getting to say I got to play as a soloist in front of a band while on a national tour, not something little kid me would have ever thought would happen. And then in the same breath, 5 years later, getting to say, oh yeah, I competed in the fittest instructor competition. And I got to shoot a gun while I did it. And while running. Okay, not something, I mean, up until, even while I was in the Marine Corps, like little younger me in the Marine Corps, that I would have ever thought I would have done, especially in the same, within a decade of each other.
Jordan, you had something.
I wish I had gone on deployment. I'm so jealous, by the way. I've been wanting to go on deployment for 8 years that I've been in. But I've got a couple of really cool things and really cool performances that I've been able to be part of. One of them was being able to play under the baton of 2 World War II veterans that were musicians.
Oh, cool.
We were all in tears, and it was an incredible experience. It's actually on YouTube, U.S. Pacific Fleet Band, if you want to go check it out. And we, they conducted both of their songs, and obviously they're very, very old. But you can still see like how much it meant to them that they got to do that for us and be in front of us conducting. We were all crying, all boo. And that was like my why. Like, why am I doing this? And like, it's not for us. It's for them. It's for everybody else. It's a very selfless thing to do. And my second one is kind of alluding to that same thing. I did get to help out I was stationed in San Diego at the time, but the Italy band needed a flute player to help them out, and I was like, me, take me, and they chose me, thankfully. And so I went and supported them in a trip that they got to go to Finland, and we actually did a wind ensemble concert for Ukrainian refugees. And they had no idea that we were going to be there, and they were just like there to get clothes and food and support, and we were just like, we're going to play you a concert. And I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Just things like that happen all the time. Sure, we play ceremonies all the time. It's our bread and butter. Like, you're going to do them, but like those moments of like, you don't know whose day you're going to make, or like who you're going to be playing music for. But it's super impactful work.
Thank you. So, really quickly, I'd like to go through why each of us chose the branch that we did choose. So for me, my spouse, he had already joined the Army before. So he had been in about a year before I came in, and we went to college together. I was on the audition track taking orchestral auditions and getting ready to finish my master's. And I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do. I hadn't won a job yet. And I said, if I put a limit on my auditions. I said, I'm going to take this one. And if I don't get it, then I'm going to join you. And so that's what happened. I ended up joining, and we've gotten to be together everywhere that we've been stationed. So the Army has a program where they try to keep married couples that are in the same service together within 50 miles from each other. So we've never been split up the whole time that we've been in the military. I've been in for 13 years, and he's been in for 14. And so being a musician and trying to find jobs in the same city can be very difficult. But with this job that we have, we get to do do what we love and we get to be in the same place. Can you all tell us some of your whys of why you chose your branch?
I started taking auditions, also was taking orchestral auditions, and was working in Montana as in an orchestra and then supplementing it with other jobs, working in a youth home. And actually at the NFA in Washington, D.C., my former piccolo teacher, and she was also a member of the Fife and Drum Corps, told me there was going to be an opening. She had met a guy at a cafe and was moving to Mexico. So she's like, hey, you should audition for this. And I had always seen the Fife and Drum Corps auditions kind of posted throughout the years and just was like, oh, that's for Fife, I don't know Fife. She's like, no, you can audition on piccolo and you should go for it. So I did, and I didn't get it. So the next time it came around, I got the chance to audition again, and it ended up working out. So I feel like the Army kind of chose me. I think I chose the Army in that I enlisted, but I was open to any branch at the time. There's a lot of, which is normal, I think, when you're in one of your life where you're looking for your next steps and starting a career.
And you all actually have an opening right now, right?
Yes. Yes. We actually have an opening. So, we have a Fife vacancy. Again, you don't have to know the Fife. I didn't know the Fife. We've had candidates audition on piccolo, audition on Fife, audition on Fife and piccolo. One of the cool things about the Fife and Drum Corps is that my colleagues, some of them come from a Fife background. Maybe they've played Fife since they're 5 years old and grew up playing Fife, but have never touched a flute. And then we have I have other colleagues that have, masters and doctorates in flute. So that's one of the unique things, and it's cool that we find a way to work together and use our strengths to become even better. So we do have a Fife audition, and the live audition is October 29th and 30th, but materials are due August 27th. And if you stop by the Army booth in the exhibit hall, we can give you more information in this packet. In addition, we also have field assessments, we call them. They're kind of like preliminary rounds. So you can sign up to play for us tomorrow, and we'll listen to you. You don't have to have anything prepared. I think it's just a great opportunity. You can receive feedback, and then you might get an invitation to our live audition. And with that, the Army will pay for you to come. So you go meet with an Army recruiter. You don't have to sign anything, nothing like that. But the Army will pay. And that was one of the cool things, especially all the expensive auditions, which a lot of us know very well. But I strongly encourage you, even if you're just thinking about it, like, I don't know, this is weird, just come to the Army booth, sign up for field assessment time. I'd love to hear you.
Like I said before, I was growing up in the military. My dad was in the military, my dad was in the Navy. I didn't know if that was going to be the band that I was going to be part of. I think she was kind of alluding to how all of us we didn't know for sure what band we were going to be part of, like which military service we were going to be part of. It just ended up working out for me. I did know that I wanted to be in a military band pretty early on through my undergrad and master's degrees. But I did take quite a few, like throughout my time in school, but then the Navy bands, it was actually our first cattle call style audition for the Navy flute bands, and there were 50 people that showed up for that one, and they hired 6 of us, and it was a really cool experience for everyone involved. It's just where I ended up, and I haven't regretted it.
Similar to Karina, I was also taking a lot of orchestral auditions, and that was my primary focus. At the time when I took my Navy band audition, I held positions, I was like principal flute at one orchestra, piccolo in another orchestra, second flute in another orchestra, subbing everywhere, teaching like so many private students, all just to pay my bills. And it was definitely kind of a rough time. I had not really seriously considered auditioning for a military band because I had so many misconceptions about what the job was. It was only after I spoke with a friend of mine who had took a job with the Army Band in DC that I was really encouraged to audition for the next opening that became available, and that opening was with the Navy Band. So I signed up for that one. I had 3 other auditions that I was going to take after that that were with a couple of different orchestras. I was like, I'm gonna go take that Navy Band audition, get all my nerves out, and then take the other ones. But what happened was I did very well at the Navy Band audition. They offered me the position, and it was like a godsend because honestly, I wasn't sure how I was going to pay my credit card bill after taking 3 other auditions. And so after I accepted that job, I canceled the other auditions. I'm like, I have a job offer. Now I can pay my rent. Went to the recruiter, enlisted, and went out to boot camp in January.
Ooh.
Which, another thing, if you go to boot camp in January for the Navy, it's right outside of Chicago, so there is a lot of snow. They have what is called Snow Watch. If you are on the list for Snow Watch, you have to get up early in the morning and shovel all the snow away from the buildings. And so that it's just like another little quirk of our boot camp. I only had to do Snow Watch once because there are a lot of people, they try to not put you on it more than once. But we would all pray for it to not snow, basically. But yeah, that is sort of how I ended up with the Navy Band, is because that was the audition that they had, and I just prepared for it the way that I would for any other audition, because our auditions, they're very similar to orchestral auditions, with a couple of exceptions. With the Navy Band audition in DC, every single round is behind a screen. They don't ever take that screen down until after you're done with the playing round of the audition. So if you are considered, they say, musically qualified, or in other words, like you won the playing part of it, then they go and they interview you. And that's the first time that they see you, just to kind of see if you might be a good fit for military life, just to ask you some basic questions, because there are some requirements for enlisting in the military.
Thank you.
I think similarly with me, was not my original plan to join the military. I was kind of pretty dead set on going right into my master's, right into the doctorate. And then all of our advisors said, hey, you should, talking to all of us, you should probably take a gap year, like go live before going for your master's. Saved some time on a story here, but that turned into, ended up talking with one of the recruiters who just happened to play in the New Orleans band. We've gotten to work together since, but he was filling me in on the whole concept of just, you're going to be challenged, you're going to grow, you're going to see yourself grow in ways you could never have imagined before, and that whole concept was so enticing to me. I loved being pushed, and I love also knowing that the team is right there next to me, and he heavily drove that mindset into my heart, into my mind, and it hasn't let me down. So I only took the Marine audition, got it, and now here I am, very grateful for it.
Similar experience to a lot of folks on this panel. I was in my senior year of undergrad. I was a music ed and performance major. So I was applying to teaching jobs, taking auditions, playing in the local orchestras. And so one of the auditions I took was the President's Own. I didn't make it. I was in the last, I was one of the 2 finalists, and it was like, okay, no one in my family was in the military, so I didn't really know too much about it. I also was taking grad school auditions, got into probably 3 of my top 5 I wanted to get into. I looked at how much they were going to cost. I did not want to be upside down and have a lot of payments. And so instead of going to those grad schools, I took the Air Force audition and made that. There were, I think, 40 flute players that were invited to the live round. So I got a spot, and I got my master's paid for just a different way. So that's how I kind of got to where I am. So.
Angela, why did you take Thursdays?
Mine might be a little different. I was in my senior year at college, and my roommate, she wanted to go audition or just check out the Air Force band, Air Guard band over in Knoxville. And she's like, I'm going to go check it out this weekend. You doing anything? I was like, no. So I said, yeah, well, I'll go with you. So I went and checked it out and thought, oh, this is really cool. They provide a place for them to stay. They play music all weekend. This sounds great. And I checked it out, and I realized like the Air Force vibe wasn't for me, but it got me intrigued. Like I'd never, it was not on my radar whatsoever. So I went back to school, and I was talking to a couple other people about, well, what'd you do this weekend? I went, I checked out the Air Guard band. And they said, oh, well, we already joined the Army Guard band. Why don't you join with us? I went, okay. So they gave me the information of the commander of the 129th in Nashville. And he said, oh, great, we'd love to have you come over and try it out. In fact, we have a concert this Sunday. Why don't you sit in? Okay. So I sat in, played the concert, and he went, you're good. Why don't you come join? I said, well, oh, okay. So we talked, and we had a lot of questions, and my parents were understandably a little concerned because this had never been on the radar at all. But then I was pretty set because I thought this is going to pay for graduate school, and it did. And there's a whole lot of monetary benefits. And at that point, there wasn't health care, but I knew it was coming, and I was going to get a flute. And all these things actually came to pass, so I knew it was going to be a good long-term investment. So I went to, they didn't have a special recruiter at that point. So I said, well, where do I go join? And they went, well, just find somebody. So I walked into some random recruiter's office one day, and I walked in and said, I'm joining the band. And he looked up from his lunch and went, what? He was very confused. It wasn't even his desk. The guy who was sitting there had stepped out for lunch. So I said, yeah, here's the phone number of the commander. You can call and ask. And he went, okay. So he called the commander, and he goes, oh, is that Angela? Yeah, I've been waiting for her to call. She's in. And the guy hung up the phone and goes, who are you? So we did the paperwork, and I went to MEPS, and I went to basic training at Fort Leonard Wood and came back. And I actually didn't go to the Army School of Music. I had joined 23 years ago, and that was when they were doing something called OJT, which is on-the-job training. So after basic training, I went to the band on post, the 399th at Fort Leonard Wood, and I stayed with them for a few weeks. They taught me how to march, they taught me ceremonies, and then they released me into the wild back to my unit where we had a PT test as soon as we got back.
Yeah, and today, I know that your experience joining was a little bit different. Today, for those that are joining the reserve and the guard bands, you take an audition with your unit before you go off to, and you have to pass that audition before you go off to basic training and then come to the School of Music where I'm working. And for active duty, you take an audition with the band recruiter who's at our Army booth over in the exhibit hall. And similar, it's the same thing. You go to basic training and you come to us at the Army School of Music and go off to your units. So yeah, things have changed over the years, but we have a lot of similarities between all of us and some differences. I'd like to use some of this time here to answer any questions you all might have.
Hey.
I was curious about if each of you has a specific place in your bands, how do they do time off, or is there like downtime? Because I mean, if you're like the piccolo player, or if you're a soloist or whatever, how do you take your 30 days that they say?
So for us, yes, that's correct. We get 30 days, 30 days per year, and a lot of bands have scheduled time in the year. For us, it's called block leave.
Same.
Yeah, same for you all. And usually it's in 2-week increments. So in bands where I've been, we get 2 weeks in the summer, and then there's 2 weeks in the winter time, usually around the holidays, that we can take time. But also there's times like this where I wanted to go to NFA, and I was able to work it out with my unit and have my duties covered for this time so that I could come here. But we can also take time outside of those scheduled block leaves. There needs to be somebody to cover our missions if we're on a mission. So,
Great question.
anything different for you all?
No, same.
So in the fife and drum corps, there's certain periods of the year. For example, this America 250 year has been very busy for us. 4th of July was kind of like off limits. We're going to work unless special cases. But because we have supervisor accepts or denies, but luckily, at least my leadership has been very accommodating, kind of, it's like a order of merit based on who requested it first. But luckily, we've had, I think, more coverage than other bands.
Yeah, and a lot of, maybe you're going to say what I was going to say. During our block leaves, a lot of times the National Guard bands and the reserve bands, so they have 2 weeks of active duty time in the summer. And a lot of times they'll come and they'll cover our missions during that time. Do you have any, you can add if you have
Oh,
any.
yeah, I was just going to say, we have 2 weeks of active duty in the summer. We have 1 weekend per month that we have to show up and rehearse and drill and whatnot. But then we have 2 weeks where we get to take over for their block leave. So they get to leave and we get to do their job for 2 weeks. And we have gone all over the place. We've gone to, we're going to be in Washington next year. We've been there before, Hawaii, Germany, Texas. I mean, like all over the place. So, yeah, and actually I was deployed last year with the band on a non-musical mission. We were doing border patrol, helping them. So I got a chance to find out what it's like to have to request leave and put in the forms and get a taste of what it's like to do that. So that's just a little different side from us part-timers.
I saw another hand back here.
I am still a student. I'm in my undergrad. My professor's really good at treating his performance majors and his education majors the same and giving them like the same workload. But I noticed that a lot of them had their undergrad in both. So I was wondering, as you're going through the audition process, I'm only music education. I don't have performance major or minor. How important is that performance major in your undergrad when you're auditioning?
Not at all. It's not.
Not at all.
There are so many people. We have people who have doctorates in performance. We have people who only have their undergrad in education. Neither. They come straight out of high school. It's rare, but we do see it. Like, all walks of life, all majors, it does not matter.
No, that's School of Music perspective. If you want to jump on this, Karina, please do as well. We teach people there who have their doctorates, who have their masters, who have their undergrads, who are coming in right out of high school. Everyone there comes in and learns something. And even the ones who come in with their doctorates, odds are they have never super studied marches before. And the licks and 6/8, and where's the beat, and the Gothic accents, and all of these things. So if you come in a little bit younger, yeah, you're probably going to end up learning more, but everyone has to learn how to march. I had never marched to a mace. I'd only marched to a whistle and to conducting before, back in marching band days. So don't let that deter you either.
Yeah, and I did double major. I did performance and music education in undergrad. I think the education part of it has been very helpful. Sometimes we get chances to play other instruments other than our own. And having had all those methods classes, like you kind of learn what other instruments you might be a little bit good at. And sometimes you get a chance to supplement a group that needs something else. So I definitely think that education background is very valuable. Not just for somebody who's an instructor like me, but somebody that's a member of a band as well. Any other questions? Yeah.
I have a few students at the university level that came from military family backgrounds. Some of them, it was good. One of them is quite short. She would love to join the military, but there are very interesting guidelines regarding height and weight, especially height. Do you think this is something in the future might change? Is there a chance? Do these things change every so many decades?
There are often waivers for many different things in the military. I'm right under 5 feet tall. Right?
She's very short.
He's very short.
I went through basic training with somebody who was 4'9", maybe. But there are waivers for it. She was a truck driver. But yeah, there are waivers.
How are you a truck driver at 4'9"?
I can't say
It's
whether
amazing.
something would be approved or not. But
Maybe.
I'd say look into it anyway. You should look into it. If it's something that they're interested in, they should look into it and see what the possibilities are. The worst that could happen is you get a no, but yeah, great question.
That's a good question.
Any other questions? Yes.
Question I was going to ask, and I don't know, without getting too political about things, but the current administration and their military. I feel like it's an interesting representation, a whole panel full of women, which is not always, I feel like, the demographic of general military service. What has been your experience of that, and as far as opportunities for advancement, and how welcome you feel in your roles there? Also, I would be an LGBT person within the military, which is a whole different thing as well. So if anyone have anything you want to say about that.
Well, I can speak to it. I am one of the senior leaders, and so I'm in charge of a unit. We have not seen anything, no issues. If that is, everyone has a medical thing, that's between them and their provider, so sometimes that isn't. As far as LGBTQ, it is a welcome environment in the United States military. So gone are the days of don't ask, don't tell. People can openly serve, so it is not an issue. So.
And I'd say as a female serving in the military, like I have two kids. I had them both while I was in the military. And things have changed since the time that I first enlisted to now, where there's a lot of provisions for women that are pregnant, women that are postpartum. We now get more time. When I first entered, we would only get 6 weeks of leave after having a baby, and our jobs are very physical. And I believe it was 6 months back then. I was in for 13 years, or I've been in for 13 years. We would have 6 months to be back in family to be able to pass the fitness test. Since then, things have changed, and now, at least on the Army side of things, women that are postpartum that have had babies get 12 weeks, I believe it's 12 weeks of leave, and then there's parental leave and there's convalescent leave, which is for recovery. And now we have an entire year, 365 days to be back in standards, so weight standards, being able to pass fitness tests and all that, which it can still be difficult in a year, but a year is way better than 6 months.
Yeah.
So things are changing. In my mind, for the better, better for families, and parental leave applies to both parents. So now both parents get longer leave than they used to.
To address the promotion thing, I was really lucky to have promoted to E6 in 8 years, which is pretty quick, and I can say the same for a lot of my female colleagues. And I think it's safe to say that if you work hard, you're a good person, there are no limitations to whether you're a woman in the military and how fast you promote. I think they do, regardless of an administration or not, merit has always been at least since I've been in, the number one thing. And it just so happens that we've just had more women enlisting since, and hopefully more will come through. But that's been my experience. I don't think I'll be worried about that.
Now I have time for about one more question. Yes.
For each of you, what has been maybe one of your biggest learning curves that you've had somewhere while you've been on the job?
Ooh.
You want to start and just go down?
Sure.
Just down there.
You might have time for that. So for me, our fitness test changed about halfway through my time in the military. It used to be push-ups, sit-ups, and run. 3 things that I'm good at. It recently changed to more strength training type stuff. So deadlift, pulling heavy things and running as fast as you can. So the new fitness test, I think, has been the most difficult for me, especially somebody of my size. Strength training was never a thing that I was into. I was a runner. So I'd say that for me.
I think the learning curve for me is going from kind of, just playing by yourself, and then that community engagement, so we're interacting with the public, and that can have different factors. Sometimes we get political questions, and knowing how to handle that in a professional manner, and putting your personal beliefs aside. And so I think that is just something I went from. I didn't have that just as a solo thing.
public training, I guess, public affairs training was the biggest learning curve for me. I think I've gotten a lot better at it, but I was really nervous all the time speaking in front of just like normal people. And I was like, why am I doing this? I don't know. But that's the biggest hurdle for me.
For me, the biggest thing to get used to was performing ceremonies. I do so many full honor funerals at Arlington National Cemetery, which is not something that I had envisioned myself doing, but it is one of the most rewarding things that we do. But it's a major adjustment because you have to stand at attention for extended periods. You're not playing on like your really nice piccolo. You're playing on like a little composite one that can handle the cold and the heat and the rain and the humidity, and just kind of like learning how to blend and adjust on a different instrument than what I'm accustomed to has been sort of a learning curve. But I feel like now I can play this little plastic piccolo in tune and make it sound lovely with the rest of the ceremonial band.
Thank you. We're out of time right now. Thank you all so much for coming today.
And
I'm getting a chance to speak with you all and with each other and learn about each other. I encourage you all, please come up and talk to us as you see us around, whether we're in uniform or not. We would love to talk to you all, and also the Marines and the Army have booths in the exhibit hall, so you can also stop by there for more questions. Thank you so much.
don't forget the handout. Thank you.
Yeah.